Hello all you Nightcrawler loving cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic and today we're going to be reviewing Mr. Shifty, which is a new top-down action game brought to you by Team Shifty and published by Tiny Build Games. For those of you who saw my preview of Mr. Shifty will know what this game is all about. At its core, it is Hotline Miami meets Nightcrawler from X-Men, throw in a ridiculous plotline, one that makes fun of itself, and there you have the game in a nutshell. As Mr. Shifty, your job is to go through each level, overcome environmental obstacles as well as face down enemies, and you do this by having the teleportation ability and the ability to just dash out and go in between walls, move between rooms, and your sole objective is to take down every single individual that you see with whatever means necessary, whether it is broomstick or trident, and you do this with only hand-to-hand combat. This is one of the main differences between Mr. Shifty and Hotline Miami, is that you are not allowed to use guns. The enemies are allowed to use guns, but you are not. And it is literally one hit, one kill. That's it. You get hit once and you are dead. So it's about using speed, stealth, and of course beat 'em up style tactics to lay waste to your enemies without getting hit once. The difficulty in the game is something that, for me, is absolutely paramount. It was the paramount in Hotline Miami. What made Hotline Miami great was the fact that it was skill-based and that it was very difficult, and then overcoming that difficulty felt very gratifying. Mr. Shifty's difficulty is pretty solid throughout. There's a nice progression of enemies, there's a nice progression of environmental hazards, there's a nice progression of difficulty all round. However, it doesn't maintain that through the entire game, whereas Hotline Miami did. What happens in Mr. Shifty is you tend to find that after the learning curve of getting used to the controls, and a controller is much better than mouse and keyboard in my opinion for that, but it is very much a case of once you learn the controls, you get over that learning difficulty, that initial learning curve. Once you've apexed that, you then find that the basic enemies are very easy, and as the game introduces more enemies to you, you face the same initial learning curve, but all of those obstacles are quickly overcome. Now, there are still a few sections where you are going to die a lot, there are a few boss fights where you're going to die a lot, but for the most part, I would say it is not as consistently challenging and consistently difficult as Hotline Miami was. That's not to say that there is not difficulty in Mr. Shifty, because there is plenty to be had, but I overall found the experience to be not as toe-to-toe difficult as something like Hotline Miami. Where Mr. Shifty, I would argue, is a lot more fun than Hotline Miami is in the fact that it's more empowering. You are a guy with the ability to literally teleport through walls, and while that is somewhat gimmicky off the face of it, it actually becomes a hell of a lot of fun, and it stays a lot of fun throughout the entirety of the game. It never gets old to teleport into the middle of a group of bad guys, kick the crap out of anyone like Neo, and I have to say I loved all of the references in the game. There are Matrix references, there are X-Men references, the game just has a right good laugh with it. And I absolutely love that. It never gets old. It never gets old to pick up a trident and impale a row of enemies onto a wall. It does not get old when you pick up a metal pole and take on an entire room full of the exact same enemies like Neo. And it's something that, while it is gimmicky, it never grows tiresome within the game. And the game's level design, coupled with the progression difficulty, coupled with the progression of mechanics in terms of bringing new enemies in, bringing new weapons in, bringing new environmental hazards, and having those levels where you are being chased by a laser or something's going to explode. All of that really helps push the game forward and stops it from becoming stale or running out and creating that fatigue very early on. I have to say that while I enjoyed the story, there's nothing in there that's particularly gripping. I love the jokes in there and a lot of the references, and I thought that was fun. I liked the fact that the story was very much self-deprecating. It was making fun of itself and other video games. But overall, if you're looking for a strong narrative experience, then this is not for you. However, this will be for you if you enjoy games like Hotline Miami, if you like Nightcrawler, if you like Neo from The Matrix. This will be the game for you. It is a lot of fun. It is a nice little charming indie game that I think executes its core mechanics very, very well. It is something that for me is designed to offer a very singular experience, and that is go into a room, kick the crap out of enemies, teleport all around the room, multiple combos, multiple weapon hits, throw doors at enemies, throw enemies through bookshelves, and feel like a total badass simulator 2017. That is the game's sole purpose, and as sole purposes go, not only is it a good one, but it executes it and nails it down very, very well. It is well worth playing. It's a game that's just nice to pick up, sit back, kick the crap out of some people, and, put it down, come back to it later. You're not too invested. You don't feel like you have to keep going. It's just nice to play, and it's an enjoyable, fun experience. And there's very few games that you can just literally say are just fun, enjoyable experiences throughout. And Mr. Shifty is certainly one of them. I would say that the downsides of that, however, is the fact that there's a lack of strong narrative, so there's a lack of real reason to keep pushing forward in the game after you get bored with the initial mechanics. There's also a lack of level design variety, and while that the environmental hazards in the game do progress and new things occur again and again and again, you tend to find that in terms of weaponry, in terms of the overall assets of the game itself, it does tend to get a little bit samey. Not to mention the fact that while the visuals are certainly nice, and I think they work very well, they are a little bit bland. One of the great things about Hotline Miami was the fact that it was very visually striking, it was very visually appealing, whereas Mr. Shifty isn't. It's got like this just grey filter over or blue filter over the actual game itself, and it makes everything just look a bit matte, a bit drab, a bit boring. The sound design as well isn't nothing to write home about. It does the job very nicely, but it is nothing that I would sit there and go, wow, that was really amazing, which again, something Hotline Miami did very, very well. They got those two, the visuals and the audio side, nailed down perfectly, and Mr. Shifty just does not do it justice in comparison. Core gameplay wise, certainly, but in terms of overall visual presentation and audio presentation, it really doesn't compare. However, like I said, if you're a fan of Hotline Miami, you're a fan of Nightcrawler from the X-Men, it is certainly worth picking up. If you just want a little beat 'em up with, a fun teleportation mechanic, with nice weapon mechanics, there's multiple fun things in the environment to do, then certainly it is definitely 100% worth picking up. The execution, the technical performance is all there, nailed down very, very well. Like I say, control-wise, probably worth picking up a controller instead of using a mouse and keyboard. Nothing particularly wrong with mouse and keyboard, but it is clearly designed for a controller in that regard. That was my review of Mr. Shifty. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, share the video on social media or on forums, and as always, I will see you next time.